When I was a young man, my favorite movies were the Star Wars movies. New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, even Return of the Jedi with those silly little teddy bears running around. I loved them. I absolutely loved them. And when I was a kid, I think I saw Star Wars for the first time as barely a toddler. I was probably 2.5 years old when they took me to the drive-in to see it. Summer of 1977. It was probably more like the fall, to be honest, when it finally came to the drive-in there. But when I was a kid, I used to imagine myself as Luke Skywalker or Han Solo, or even Chewbacca. And when we would get together, all my friends and I, my little grade school friends and we would play Star Wars together. We were all like members of the rebellion, helping each other out and trying to fight back against the Empire. And you see, that was the thing. Nobody wanted to be Darth Vader. Nobody wanted to be the villain. And when we got a little older, and the G.I. Joe cartoons came on, which was really just a cartoon to boost the sales of the toys. But you'd watch the cartoon, and it was like all these different weird G.I. Joes, and then they were all fighting against Cobra, the bad guys. And when we played G.I. Joes, everybody wanted to be a G.I. Joe. Nobody wanted to be the bad guys. Nobody wanted to be Cobra. Because we know what good and evil is. Even as little kids, we're running around going, well, the good guys are the good guys, right? And the good guys win in the end, and that's how it's supposed to work. It's 2025 now. It's a long time removed from, 40 years ago, 1985, me playing with my kid friends. Me as a kid playing with my kid friends, playing G.I. Joe in the backyard and digging trenches and stuff and getting in trouble for that. Yeah, that happened. It's a different world now. But who the hell wants to be the villain? And who is the villain today? I mean, think about it. Let's talk. Welcome back to Trent Takes On 2.0. I'm the Trent for the title of the show. Little behind the scenes thing today. I only have 52 minutes of upload time left, so this episode better be no more than 51 minutes long. So you got that to look forward to. I don't think I can roll that hard today because I've got another podcast coming up later, and I gotta save some ammunition for that one. I get a little gassed, if you will. I'm not the young man I used to be, like I was talking about in the opening there. I'm recording another episode of No Plan, No Problem with my friend George, so please catch that wherever you catch this one. We're working on a YouTube upload. It won't be a video version of the pod, but an audio version available on YouTube. I'm working on that today and tomorrow. We're going to see if I can make it happen. So I was talking about the villains. When we were young, when us Gen Xers, us millennials were young, it was pretty straightforward. It was this is good, this is bad, this is blah blah blah. Now it's 2025. Okay? Now it's 2025. And a world that is more connected than ever. More connected than ever. I mean, we used to have to pay super extra for long distance calls. I never understood why, by the way. I never understood why you had to do that. But if you had a friend that lived, that moved a state away, and you called them on the telephone, especially during peak hours, you're talking on the phone with them. It's like $1 a minute sometimes or more. So, you had to take all that into account. It's a long distance phone call. We don't have that anymore. Hell's bells. You can video chat with people on the other side of the world right now for nothing. If you're connected to the interwebs. We used to have to buy sets of encyclopedias to have in the house. spend $300 or $400. They may not have been that much back then, but they were expensive. They were super expensive. A set of books that would be out of date at the end of the year, and they would release an update to the year's worth of encyclopedias with just the stuff that had happened in that year. That was how we had books at home, so we didn't have to go to the library every time we had to write an essay or something. Every time we had to do a project. Now you've got access to all the world's knowledge right there on your cell phone. Not everybody could afford a video camera, and if you could, it was like, holy crap. We have a video camera. We can make, movies with our toys and stuff. And if you were a kid, I guess if you're an adult, you're making movies with. And now you've got a phone that does all that stuff, and you can edit it and everything. We couldn't do that. We used to make mixtapes off of the radio, where you would record songs off the radio, hopefully in the order you wanted. And then now we can arrange a playlist on our favorite audio app. It's a different world, but is it really? And who are the villains? When you look around at what's going on today in this country and other countries, it doesn't matter where it is. There are people who are interested in seeing other people suffer, interested in inflicting pain and suffering on other people. Here we call them MAGA, Make America Great Again. It's not great to be cruel, but they relish the cruelty. They held up mass deportation signs at the Republican, the convention. Think about what deportation is to the person who's being deported. You're being thrown out of the country that you've come to try to make a living, to try to do better. The United States may have problems, but compared to the places where some of these immigrants are coming from, this is paradise. And their crime is coming here and trying to be a part of the American society, the American dream, the shining city on the hill that was promised to the world by some wacko named Ronald Reagan, who would be a leftist commie to these guys now with his amnesty for illegals policy. No one is illegal on stolen land. I keep getting hung up on that. These undocumented people, these people who have come here and tried to do the right thing. That's how you know where they are. They know where the undocumented people are because they're attempting to do the right thing in most cases. And they've been given a green light to violate the bejeebus out of the Fourth Amendment and just start detaining people of color because they're people of color, and then questioning them about where they're from and where are your papers. And this is as un-American as it gets. And the Supreme Court somehow greenlit that shit, which is one of the most unreal decisions ever. The Kavanaugh stop. Anyway, if you are inflicting pain and suffering on others, especially people who just happen to be different from you, and you're inflicting that cruelty on them because they're different from you, you're the villain. You are the villain. If you want to be a hero in 2025, you stand up and you say that's wrong. You stand up and you say it doesn't matter. I've given a lot of thought to this. Trent, who are you? What is your stance? What is it about you? Can you sum it up? If you were going to run for Congress, what would your platform look like? And I got it. I actually figured it out. It's 2 words. Well, it's 1 word. It's hyphenated. It's not a real word because, well, maybe it is a real word. I don't know. But it's pro-human. That's what I am. I'm pro-human. I hate climate change. It's going to destroy the human race. I hate war. It destroys human lives. I hate racism. It doesn't matter what color we are. We're all human. I hate bigotry. I hate misogyny. I am anti a whole lot of things that are anti-human. I am pro-human. I'm pro-human. I'm pro-human. You should be able to be the human that you want to be as long as you're not hurting others. Whew. And that feels good. It feels good to know that I've come up with a little phrase that I happen to be proud of. I'm pro-human. I want to be kind. I want to be honest. I have not always been the best person. I had to grow into this. In fact, there have been times where I've been horribly selfish over my life. And I think that is part of the human condition, that we have to get beyond it. We have to find a way to leave that selfishness behind. That they talk about what was it, the 7 deadly sins. Greed is on that list. I think greed is the one that's destroying us all right now. Envy, sloth, wrath, gluttony, all those are bad. But man, it's the greed that really, really hurts a society. I'm just trying to be a better version of myself. And if lots and lots of people adopt that simple pro-human, be the best version of yourself mentality, you can really move forward in a quick way. But I wanted to talk today about the political story about the leak of this young Republican leadership group chat. There's this giant ass group chat with dozens of people in it who are the leaders of the young Republicans in different states. New York, there was Kansas. There's a whole bunch of states involved. And a whole bunch of these young Republicans. And they throw around, in this group chat, they just throw around racist terms. They throw around bigoted name calling. They talk about raping and murdering their opponents, throwing Democrats into gas chambers. It's really vile, disgusting stuff, including one of them saying, "I love Hitler." And they know what they're doing because one of the chats in this chat chain, in this giant chat that was dropped on Politico was if this chat ever gets leaked, we're cooked for real. And if you speak young people, which I don't, but I know just enough, that means they know what they're doing is wrong. So wrong that their careers should be over should it leak. So what do you do if you're in a group chat? Well, first of all, let's talk about the response. Some of these people have been fired. Some of these group chat members who said all these horrible fucking things have been fired. With good reason. You are trying to go into politics. That is a stain that you cannot erase. You shouldn't be able to erase. That's the kind of thing that's really hard to come back from. It takes a lot of contrition to do it and a lot of time, and you're not going to do it overnight. Mostly, this has been condemned, but there is one voice in particular that seems to, I don't know, dismiss it. And that's Vice President Just Dance Vance, who said, kids say crazy stuff. They tell crazy jokes. They tell obnoxious, offensive jokes. He said, this is just a bunch of pearl clutching by the left. And my response to that, Just Dance Vance, is if you are a white heterosexual male in this country who identifies as Christian, you don't know one effing thing about what it's like to be marginalized, what it's like to be at the end of the wrong, the business end of some bad racism, some bad misogyny, some bad bigotry. You don't know shit. You don't know shit. Don't tell other people how to react to this, because it's a pretty major thing. I, for one, don't appreciate being thought of as somebody that should be thrown into a gas chamber. I don't think that should be something that should be said to anyone ever. It's like we don't even remember what that is a reference to. The Holocaust is one of the darkest things in the history of our species. And these people are making light of it in such a way that they wouldn't mind seeing it come back just against their political opponents this time. It's gross. It's beyond gross. It's gross. It's vile. It's disgusting. I also want to point out that the heated rhetoric that we are supposed to be toning down doesn't seem to ever tone down from the right. It only seems to escalate. It only seems to get worse. If you listen to just one of these crazy right-wing podcasts for more than 15 minutes, your blood will boil because they hate the left. They fucking hate us. They hate everything about us. And they don't even know why, really. I guess it's just their thing. But there's J.D. Vance saying these kids are going to say what kids are going to say. Well, to be a member of this group, the Young Republicans, you have to be at least 18 years old. So not one of these people is technically a kid. Also, the top end of the age group is 40. So I don't know many 40-year-old kids. In fact, several of the people who said some of the worst stuff ranged in age from 24 to 35. So what do you do if you're in a group chat that goes wrong? Just out of curiosity. Does anybody else have an idea? I have an idea as to what I would do. I would say, this is ridiculous. You people are sick. And I would leave the chat. See, that's the thing. If you stay in the chat and you just kind of like giggle behind the scenes, you're a part of it now. You're abetting that disgusting behavior. So everybody on that chat is a part of the problem. Unless you're the one person who turned around and leaked it to the world. In which case, you're kind of like a secret hero. But man, do they hate us. Extremism is wild. It's been normalized by the right and the left. We get extreme when we say shit like we need to tax the rich of their fair share. Like that makes us socialists. Meanwhile, Donald Trump just found $40 billion to give to Argentina to bail them out if they vote for Milei, the current libertarian austerity asshole president of Argentina, who is up for re-election. I think it's this weekend. I don't know. Other countries aren't like us. They don't do elections on fucking Tuesdays. They do them on the weekends when people can, I don't know, fucking vote. It's so weird. Why do we make our elections on Tuesdays? In so many states don't allow you to vote early. You have to vote on election day, which means everybody's going out on Tuesday to attempt to vote at the same time. Fucking stupid, man. Why? If we're a democracy, we're supposed to make it easy for people to cast their vote. That's how you find out what the people want. Also, I'd like to point out, just for shits and giggles, just for S&Gs, that the gerrymandering process that's going on, I voted yes on 50, by the way, the temporary gerrymandering of California for the next 2 cycles to combat the gerrymandering that went on in Texas that's already happened. That is in court right now because they're suing for it. Gerrymandering, specifically, they're gerrymandering the bejesus out of people of color. Basically, breaking the law on the Civil Rights Act, which says that you can't dilute the voting power of people of color. Specifically, this was in retaliation to all of the Jim Crow laws that went into place across the South. The The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1965. It was reaffirmed by multiple presidents on bipartisan basis. And now the argument is that the Civil Rights Act itself is racist against white people. That was the argument that was heard in front of the Supreme Court yesterday in a case against the state of Louisiana. And holy shit. Oh God. Jesus, man. We're in a weird spot. But I would argue that gerrymandering in and of itself is undemocratic as fuck. They're claiming that they could re-gerrymander all these states, to re-gerrymander all of these congressional districts to ensure more Republican seats in the House of Representatives. So how is that democracy? How is that actually letting the people choose? If you choose which voters get to vote in what races, you're not giving them a choice. We need a nationwide ban on gerrymandering, and we tried to pass it back during the Barack Obama administration. It was a bill called House Bill 1, House Resolution 1. And it was the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And it would have banned partisan gerrymandering and any gerrymandering, in fact. And the idea would have been for independent districting commissions in all 50 states, all the states. You don't have to say 50 because there may eventually be more. And that would mean independent district redistricting, which means we would try to make every district as close to 50-50 as possible. And I've said before on this show that gerrymandering takes away the best candidates, because the best candidates are going to be the ones that go out there and try to appeal to the broadest group of voters. If you gerrymander these things into these, Republican plus 30 districts, the most crazy person who wins the Republican primary, the one who is the most Trumpy of all, will win the primary, and then, because we're still super tribal, will probably win the general election. And that is madness. And again, robs us of quality representation. And that's really what's missing in our democracy today, is quality representation. There are examples of true quality representation. People who have gone to Washington, D.C. to represent not just their constituents, but the society as a whole, and to uphold the Constitution. Now, there are vanishingly few examples of that on the Republican side. And it doesn't help that something like to the tune of 51% of Congress are millionaires. That doesn't help. That just tells me that there's a whole bunch of people that are terribly out of touch. Anyway, I got sidetracked. I was talking about extremism and how dangerous it is. And extremism on the right looks like masked ICE agents grabbing whatever people of color they feel like grabbing, taking them to detention centers, and maybe or maybe not deporting them, maybe or maybe not releasing their names, maybe or maybe not saving American citizens from having their due process removed, but more likely not. Why admit that you made a mistake when you could just throw them on a plane to South Sudan? Think about it. The actions of immigration and customs enforcement is one of the most dangerous things we've ever seen in this country. And no one is policing them. No one is being allowed oversight into these ICE detention facilities. We don't know what the conditions are like inside. We don't know how people are being treated. We don't know. That is extremism. That is far-right extremism. And if you're wondering, just out of curiosity, what has happened to the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters and all of these militias? Where, you know what they are now? They're behind those fucking masks. They are the new hires to immigrations and customs enforcement that are making six figures, and they got a $50,000 upfront bonus. And if they happen to have student loans, they got $60,000 of those forgiven. Because we could forgive those student loans, but not regular student loans. Oh, no, 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 no. In fact, that's right. They're trying to rescind some of the student loan forgiveness that Joe Biden gave out. Think about that. That is extremism. That is extremism. For the government shutdown, Russ Vought, who is the head of the Office of Management Budget, has pulled the funding for $28 billion worth of projects that were already approved by Congress, on the books, done. The money should be going to those projects because that is what Congress said to do with it. He has pulled all that funding. Of that funding, 99% of it was going to Democratic states. In other words, they only pulled funding for projects that were going to democratically run states. States that didn't vote for Donald Trump. Punishing the opposition for not voting for their fascist overlord. Also illegal, for the record, for him to have done this. Congress has the power of the purse. They design the projects. They send the money to these districts, to these states. It is not the executive's role to decide, well, I don't like that, so we're not going to pay those checks. Nope. Illegal. It's called impoundment. Anyway, that is what extremism looks like on the right. Using the powers of the government against the opposing party. Indicting critics of the president himself, from Letitia James and James Comey to John Bolton, who I don't like at all. That guy's awful. But does he deserve to be targeted with an indictment over bullshit trumped up charges? I hate that word is his name. Or is it like totally obvious that it should be his name? I don't want John Bolton to be indicted over nothing for political reasons. That's insane. I don't want that. You commit a crime, they do an investigation into you, they find it. They find the crime that you committed, then, well, yeah. You don't say, oh, we investigate this person because I don't like them. No. You're supposed to investigate crimes. Here's the crime. And then you chase down all of the evidence and you link it to all the people who committed it. Anyway, it is extremism. What does extremism on the left look like? Food for the poor? An attempt to handle the homeless issue in this country? Healthcare that is almost affordable? We're trying. Healthcare. Hell, that's life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That's the first one, right? Life. What does radical leftism look like? Speaking out against this authoritarian regime, protesting in the streets. That's liberty. Those are in the First Amendment. Freedom of the press. That's a First Amendment thing. We want to protect those things. That's liberty. That's us. That's us. Crazy leftists. That's us. Crazy leftists. We are the hard left that want batshit crazy things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like follow the law. Holy shit. We are really outgunned in the extremism category, aren't we? Both figuratively and literally. We are the dangerous far left. We are the Antifa boogeymen. Think about it. Think about it for just a second. They've designated Antifa, which is an organization that doesn't exist, as a terrorist, domestic terrorist group. First of all, You don't have the power to name anything a domestic terrorist group. That's not even a thing that you can do. You would need a law or something like that. Like, what is Congress for anymore? I wonder. Anyway, Antifa is now, according to them, a domestic terrorist group. There is no Antifa. They don't have membership drives. They don't have, clubhouses or meetings. You know who does? Proud Boys, 3%ers, Oath Keepers, dozens of militias out there that operate illegally. Yeah. It's illegal to operate a militia in this country. It is illegal to operate an armed militia in this country. If you're not armed, that's fine. That's just a club. Anyway, the Antifa boogeymen. That's who we are. We are the Antifa boogeymen because we are anti-fascism. They say that anti-fascists are the enemy. I want you to think about that because there's an easier way to say anti-fascist. There is. If you think about it, you'll get it. I've been calling this regime fascist for a long time because they do fascist shit. So, yeah. The whole masked ICE agents in the streets, just arresting people all willy-nilly, using military tactics, Black Hawk helicopters in Chicago, tear gas and rubber bullets on civilians. They arrested a dude wearing a giraffe suit in Portland yesterday for singing on his he's got a little microphone and boombox that he wears around his chest. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's an internet dude. They arrested him for singing. Just for singing. I mean, it was a little, I would call the song was a little bit racy, but at the same time, that's a protected First Amendment thing. So what was the grounds for them to detain this guy? They don't say. Because they're not accountable, and therein lies the problem. We are Antifa boogeymen, wearing our inflatable costumes and going on naked bike rides to protest ICE, because that's the kind of thing that you do when you think that the more obnoxious, the more absurd we can be, the more attention we bring to how absurd this situation is. We just can't cross the line into cartoonish. And that brings me to what I'm going to be doing here in a couple days, which is going to my local No Kings protest. The No Kings protest is no kings. There are no kings in this country. No, if you know anything about the Declaration of Independence, it is a declaration to say we are not going to be subjects of a mad king anymore. And these are our grievances against King George. And if you go back and you read them, they're going to sound really familiar about taxation without representation, about ignoring laws, about not allowing governors to run their states. Yeah, it's going to sound super well, it's also written in 1700s version of English, which is hard to fucking follow. But the grammar of the 18th century totally different from the grammar of today. As if. Shit, that was 20th century. There are no kings in this country. That was the whole point of this country. Was that we weren't going to be subjects to a mad king anymore. So No Kings protests, arguably the most American thing ever. To say we will swear no allegiance to any king. Yet, people from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and his whip, Steve Scalise, to the Vice President and the President himself, to the House Majority Leader, John Thune, they are saying that these are hate America protests and that the people who are going to be out there are all Antifa. Well, as in the idea, yeah. There is no group Antifa. We are anti-fascist, my friend, because fascism is bad. Fascism only benefits those at the top of the ruling. Even the stormtroopers, that's where that term comes from, by the way. Blitzkrieg, the lightning attack. It is an old Third Reich rhetoric. Stormtroopers. That's where it comes from. ICE, this Gestapo, these tactics that they're using where they cover their faces and they're above reproach, that is old school fascist behavior. And let me tell you something about the people behind those masks. They're committing crimes. They know they're committing crimes, the crimes that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. And in some cases, these people will not be able to. It will eat them alive. In some cases, you are so twisted that every violence you commit on another person pushes you further and further toward the edge of being the demon that is irredeemable. They know what they're doing is wrong. They're choosing to do it anyway. So, is it an anti-America protest, or is it the most American thing in the world to peacefully protest and to say, no kings in this country? We bow to no one because of what's in their blood. There is no royalty here. That's what the No Kings protest is about. You want to talk about hating America? Hating America is when you silence people. Hating America is when you refuse to realize that this place, for all of its faults, has been an ongoing experiment in multicultural democracy for 250 years, almost. It has been distilling that initial promise of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and a we the people government, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. This is the longest standing democracy in human history. And we teeter on the edge of throwing all that away for this mad king and the sycophants that work for him and the true believers that use him as a 300-pound Cheeto-covered puppet. The Stephen Millers and Russ Voughts, the Project 2025ers, the Steve Bannons, the Benny Johnsons. These people do not believe in a multicultural, multiracial democracy. The Peter Thiels, the Elon Musks. I would go so far as to say the Mark Zuckerbergs. They're not interested in it. They want to be oligarchs. They want to run a country. And the true believers will help make it happen. But he's not a king. He's not royalty. He's just a man. He's a man that was entrusted with a seat of power that he has abused, that he has corrupted, that he has twisted into a vision that none of us could have imagined. And I've got a pretty solid imagination. I thought for sure that some members of the Republican Party would realize this. This is temporary. And when that pendulum swings back, when the people of this country stand up and say, no, 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 you will be either on the right side of the nose or the wrong side of the nose. You do not want to be on the wrong side of 340 million people who want their country back. And it won't be 340 million people. I swear, there's 20% of this country that would be in for a penny, in for a pound on whatever this crazy fuck wants to do. They are so just sucked down the rabbit hole, they can't see their own ass. Which is not a thing. I can barely see my ass without a mirror. I don't twist that well. Anyway. 20% of this country is going to go along with whatever the fuck the orange dictator wants. But the other 80%, not so much. And the actual resistance grows with every day. The actual resistance grows with every trip to the grocery store where your money goes just a little less far. The resistance grows with every person who gets a premium increase on their health insurance that prices them out of getting care for kids with asthma, middle-aged people with diabetes, the elderly with cancer. The system is breaking down because you cannot siphon the goods from so many of us into the pockets of so few. The top 10% of this country control 67% of its wealth. It's a crazy number. Actually, just heard that on a podcast I was listening to. Molly Jong Fast was on Prof G, and she mentioned that number. She actually had where it was from, and I have already forgotten the place that it was from because it just happened. And I started doing this podcast. I did write that down. Yeah. Things ain't great, but they're changing. Okay, and No Kings protest. The No Kings protest is not a hate America protest. It is arguably our way of screaming at the top of our lungs, we love America, but we really hate what this fascist regime is doing to it. Consolidating power into the presidency is just vile and wrong, and it puts us at the mercy of a very small number of people. Checks and balances were established for a reason, because democracy needs checks and balances, and if it doesn't have them, then democracy fails, and we've seen that time and time again. But America hadn't failed, because the checks and balances remained, and they kept fighting back, and they kept saying, we're not going to allow this. Not many people know about the last time an imperial president sat in and I'm not talking about Nixon. I'm talking about Andrew Johnson, the guy who followed Lincoln. Johnson was chosen as vice president to try and win over the slavers. He didn't believe in the same things that Abraham Lincoln believed in. And so when Lincoln was killed and Johnson became president, he didn't feel it was necessary to enforce the laws of the Congress. Check it out. A little history. Anyway, we ain't done by a damn sight. There are way too many of us in this country who don't like what's happening. And like I said, those numbers keep growing. The numbers are going to keep growing because you can't hide what he's doing to this economy. You can't hide the effects of tariffs. You can't hide the effect of a housing shortage. You can't hide the effects of a power shortage that's being caused by the AI boom. You cannot hide the truth forever. It eventually comes out. It boils to the top. It gets leaked like so many young Republican group chats. For real, for real. So to everyone out there, and I know I could be a bit of a bummer, a downer, a realist, a cynic. But here's something real for you. Here's something know-it-all from the old Trentster. It doesn't end like this. The comeback is right around the corner, and the rebellion beats the empire. Spoiler alert for a movie that came out in 1983. The good guys can win. Because it's hard to be a bad guy. It's easy to do the right thing. It really is. It makes you feel good. If doing the wrong thing makes you feel good, that makes you a psychopath. Think about it. But if doing the right thing makes you feel good, that makes you a good human. And that's what I ask all of us to do. That's going to do it for me this week on this show. I'm going to do another show in about an hour called No Plan, No Problem. Please check that out. Wherever you get this one, No Plan, No Problem, shortly behind. We're working on that YouTube upload. I will figure it out, hopefully. Because if I get it uploaded, if I get that figured out, what's next? Video podcasting. Sounds like an equipment grade upgrade may be in order. Anyway, thank you for being with me on this journey. I certainly appreciate it. I hope to see you all at the No Kings protest on Saturday. My local one starts at 9 a.m., which is crazy. But, all right, I'm there. I'll be out at the No Kings protest. I hope everyone else will too. Find one near you at nokings.org. Until next time. Oh, by the way, share this with a friend. Please share this with a friend. That's how it grows. And one final time. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. In the meantime, please be good humans. It's the least we can do. And look at that. I made it in under 51 minutes. Love you.